knead the egg and flour into the potatoes. So I'll pop the potatoes back in a bowl. That's so strange, it's like a slice of potato. I mean, look at that. That does not look particularly appetizing. So you can probably see there are still a few lumps. I don't know if you can see there are slightly darker bits where it's still kind of lumpy, but you saw how long I mashed for. It wasn't getting any better. Drop potato on the floor as well. Right. So I think now I just add it all in and then probably get a bit messy and just mix it all together. That seems like a lot of flour. I'm going to put a little bit in at a time, I think, rather. Just because I don't want to put too much in all at once and then go, it's far too floury and not be able to do anything about it. So a pinch of salt, and I salted the water when I was making the potatoes. So they should be a bit salty, but I would just add a little bit more just in case. And then I've got the smallest, I think this is so cute, the smallest grater in the world for my nutmeg. And I'm just going to get a little, it's a weird smell, nutmeg. I don't know if I like it. It's one of these things, quite a lot of recipes ask for it. And I'm sure it does make a difference, but I don't know if I would say that I actually like it or not. So I want a pinch of the nutmeg. I'd say that looks like a good pinch. And the good thing with the whole nutmeg is if you kind of grate it, you can grate a little kind of chunk off the nutmeg and just pop it back in the jar. So a jar like this will last you forever because you use so little of it at a time. So that's why I quite like the whole nutmeg rather than the ground stuff. And then we want to add our egg. Oh, huge bit of shell. Wash my hands, don't want any of that egg on me. Right, so we've got one egg, salt, flour and nutmeg. And then I'm gonna give it a stir first before I get my hands in because I want to incorporate the egg a wee bit more than having to get it in my fingers because I'm not a big fan of the texture of egg. So that's kind of what it's looking like at the moment. I'm just going to keep going until it all comes together. But yeah, I think the recipe says to add all of the flour at once, but I think if you do that, you're going to struggle to get it all mixed through. So I would recommend just a bit at a time and just kind of keep kneading it and then add the next lot and then add another bit until it's all kind of worked through it. So that's coming together not too badly now. See, so we're getting there with it. Okay, so yeah, whenever we feel at it, that's the problem, I've never made them before, so I'm not quite sure what they're supposed to feel like. I think that's it, once you've made something a couple of times then you know roughly how they're supposed to be. I'm going to add a little bit more flour because there wasn't a lot of flour there compared to the recipe. And I think the flour will probably also help to get a kind of crispy coating on them, and the crispier they are, the nicer they are. I think this is going to be better. I think I've measured out far too much flour. So, and then it says knead it in and then form into a long roll. So we want kind of like a big long sausage that we can then cut up into little pieces and then roll and make our little dumplings. So you can see that there, that looks not too bad actually. So what we're going to end up with hopefully is this kind of idea. Although that seems quite big. but that kind of a thing. So just like a little dumpling. Hang on, I'm going to put that off. So that's, yeah, so lots of them, and then we're going to fry them in the pan with a little bit of butter. So I reckon that's enough flour here. I think that'll do us, because we don't want it too floury or they'll kind of start to fall apart. Up out the road. Okay. And then you just want to make sure it's all well mixed through. And then we can start rolling it out. So I think that'll do it, because you don't really need to knead it. It's not like it's bread or anything. Okay, that out there. I need to make a bit of space for it. Get rid of all of this stuff. And so we've got just a big ball of potato dough now. And I'll probably do this in a few different chunks, because otherwise I'm going to end up running out of space completely. My hands a quick wash. That's the only problem with that. When it's like potato and flour, it just sticks to everything. We don't need any of this anymore. All of that. Right. So I think it looks good. Well, I hope so. That's the aim. We'll see how we go. Right, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop it into maybe 4 chunks. It doesn't say anything about... No, it doesn't say anything about flouring the worktop, so I think we should be okay just as it is. It's like Play-Doh. It is like Play-Doh, it ends up absolutely everywhere. So I'm just going to chop it into 4 little blocks, and we'll start kind of rolling it out. So it says form into a long thin roll. That's annoying, isn't it? Okay, so a long thin roll, and I think probably as well, with a bit like gnocchi, you could probably just make this into gnocchi. So if you wanted gnocchi, you could just do little, like smaller chunks, almost like kind of little cubes. I think a wee bite might be good so it doesn't stick. It's not actually sticking so far. I might put a little bit on. It seems okay so far, but you don't want it to start sticking and then you end up in a bit of a mess. Right, so we've got, can you see that okay on the other camera? Yeah, it's not too bad. So we've got a kind of a long thin roll, as it says on the instructions, the recipe. And then I'm just going to take off maybe about that much each time. And then it says rolling them with your palms. I feel like there's definitely a kind of a knack to this. It's one of these things that you can imagine like a German granny knowing exactly what to do and just being able to make this without even thinking. So that's the first one. I would say that looks pretty good. It's quite long. It's maybe a bit longer than I would want it. But I think that's kind of what you're going for. So I'm going to just get a plate out so I can pop these on when they're ready. Just stick them up there. So we've got one of them, so I'm just going to do the same. Just chop it up into little chunks. I suppose, yeah, it's up to you if you want to have them longer or thinner or chunkier. Eventually, I think they're all gonna taste good. You might just need to cook them slightly longer if they're a bit thicker.